Let me start this mess off real clear. If you ever feel tempted to pick a fight with your neighbor over rules, you better make sure they're not the person who writes the rule book. It was a Tuesday morning, nothing fancy, just me, my coffee, and the usual birds harassing my mailbox. I stepped out in uniform, ready to head downtown for another day of city-level chaos. That's when I saw it. A big, boxy white Lexus, parked dead center across my driveway. Not just on the edge, but blocking it like someone thought my home came with valet service. I don't even have to tell you who the car belonged to. You already know. It was Karen. Our neighborhood had its share of personalities, but Karen, our self-appointed queen of the HOA, was next level. You know the type. Clipboard always ready, passive-aggressive smile, owns a dog that barks at its own reflection. Her mission in life was enforcing rules she barely understood and acting like the rest of us lived on her property. I gave the Lexus a once-over, saw the HOA sticker in the window like it meant something, then headed back inside to call the non-emergency line. I wasn't going to tow it yet. I figured maybe someone else had parked there by mistake. 2 minutes later, I hear the screechy voice outside. I open the door and see Karen, hands on her hips, wearing her usual HOA logo windbreaker like she was part of SWAT. "You're not authorized to call enforcement on that vehicle," she says, pointing at me like I'm a trespasser. "That space is common access." I blinked. "Karen, that's my driveway." She waves her clipboard like it's a badge. "The HOA has a right to control traffic flow and conduct inspections. That includes temporary stops." Temporary. I pointed the tire boot I now noticed on the back of my own car. "You booted me?" "That's not a boot. That's an HOA immobilizer. And I've already called the police to report obstruction of HOA business." "Lady, called the cops." Now let's pause for a second. I've worked in traffic enforcement for 15 years. I was just promoted to chief. This wasn't my first rodeo, but I'd be lying if I said this wasn't personal. I'd let Karen rant and rave about leaf piles and mailbox heights before. But blocking my driveway? Immobilizing my car? Calling the cops on me? She had just picked a fight with the city itself. The patrol car showed up in under 10 minutes. Officer Ramirez stepped out, took one look at me in my official uniform shirt, and did a visible double take. "Chief." Karen was already charging toward him, waving paperwork. "Officer, that man is interfering with HOA procedures. I'm executing a Section 4 to 17 neighborhood traffic provision." Ramirez looked at me. I gave him the "just give her rope" look. He cleared his throat. "Ma'am, do you know who this is?" "I don't care who he thinks he is. In this neighborhood, I enforce the rules." Ramirez raised an eyebrow and gestured at my badge. "He's the chief of traffic enforcement for the city." Karen blinked. Once. Twice. Then went pale. "You're bluffing," she muttered. I pulled out my ID and held it up. "Would you like to read the part where I wrote the traffic guidance policy for residential zones?" That should have been the end. But Karen was determined to make it worse. She doubled down. She went on the HOA Facebook group and accused me of impersonating a city official. She said my badge was fake, that my driveway extended illegally past code setback lines, and even claimed I had intimidated her dog, who, again, barks at clouds. Then came the HOA meeting. Karen stood up in front of the whole room like she was running for office. "We can't allow bullying in our streets," she said. "And no Onino when he's above HOA jurisdiction." My wife squeezed my hand under the table. "You sure you want to let her keep digging?" "Oh, I'm just waiting for her to hit the gas on this hill," I whispered. "She doesn't know what's under her tires." Because here's the thing. I hadn't just been sitting back and letting this unfold. I'd been documenting everything. The parking violations, the forged immobilizer authorization, the fake policy numbers. Yep. Turns out Section 4 to 17 doesn't exist anywhere in the HOA bylaws. I even had body cam footage from myself and Ramirez. Oh, and audio from when she shouted, "I don't care what the law says. I am the law here." What Karen didn't know was that her authority ended at the sidewalk and she'd crossed it like she was marching into a territory war. I filed formal complaints to both the HOA Oversight Committee and the city attorney's office. But here's where the real twist came in. Karen wasn't just the HOA president, she had been collecting dues and fines under her own PayPal account. That's right. We dug a little deeper and found out she'd been issuing her own fake violation notices, charging neighbors bogus $75 traffic penalties, and routing all of it to her personal account listed as Neighborhood Watch Admin. Turns out HOA Karen wasn't just power tripping, she was committing fraud. 2 weeks later, subpoenas landed on her front door. Not only was she removed from the HOA board, but the DA opened an investigation into misuse of community funds, impersonating a code officer, and illegal vehicle immobilization. But that's not the best part. The HOA itself had to issue refunds to everyone Karen had fined over the past year. Turns out her whole setup was rogue from the start. She had no written permission to boot cars, no traffic authority, and the HOA's insurance dropped coverage over the incident. Karen tried to lawyer up, but the attorney she hired backed out after seeing the footage. And guess what car got towed in front of the entire neighborhood? Yep, the white Lexus. By city order. I stood on my porch that morning, coffee in hand, as the tow truck driver laughed. "You the guy she messed with?" I just nodded. Guess she thought I wouldn't enforce my driveway. And the boot? I kept it. Mounted it on my garage wall like a trophy. Karen eventually moved out. Sold her house at a loss. Last I heard, she was trying to get into another HOA board only to be rejected once they Googled her. What did I learn? Power-hungry people don't fear rules. They fear accountability. Karen built a paper throne, but forgot I had the blueprints. So let me ask you, was I petty, or just patient? Let me know what you would have done in my shoes. I'm seriously curious where you land on this. Thanks for listening, and if you've got wild HOA stories or ideas for comebacks that hit hard and clean, drop them in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more justice-fueled neighborhood drama.